Have you ever noticed how the smallest daily choices, the things we don't even think twice about, can sometimes carry the heaviest consequences? When it comes to prostate health, this truth couldn't be more real. Millions of men over the age of 50 carry on with habits that feel ordinary, harmless, even comforting, not realizing that these very patterns are the seeds of some of their biggest health struggles. What shocks doctors most isn't just the conditions they see in their patients, it's the fact that so many of them could have been prevented, simply by avoiding the mistakes that have quietly become a part of everyday life. The prostate is a small gland, about the size of a walnut, but it carries enormous influence over a man's health and comfort, especially in the later decades of life. Problems like enlargement, inflammation, and even prostate cancer rarely appear out of thin air. They develop slowly, quietly, fueled by years of repeated habits. And the saddest truth is that many seniors are living proof of this, men who are otherwise wise, experienced, and disciplined in so many areas of life, but who have unknowingly allowed these mistakes to chip away at their health over time. That is why prostate experts often feel both shocked and frustrated. Shocked, because they see the same mistakes being repeated every single day. Frustrated, because despite countless warnings, many men still ignore or underestimate just how damaging these habits can be. This is not about blame, it's about awareness. Because when you know what's harming you, you can finally begin to take control. In today's reflection, we will uncover 8 destructive habits that silently damage prostate health. These are not rare or extreme behaviors. They're simple, everyday actions that most men never question. But as you'll soon see, they hold the power to create a lifetime of discomfort, urgency, pain, and even danger if left unchecked. So let's begin with the first destructive habit, one that almost every man has been guilty of at some point, and one that doctors beg seniors to stop immediately. Habit 1. Ignoring the urge to urinate. It may sound harmless at first. You feel the urge to go, but you're in the middle of something important. Maybe you're watching the news, working in the garden, talking to family, or stuck in traffic. So you tell yourself, I'll hold it for a little while. After all, what's the harm in waiting? The truth is, holding in urine on a regular basis is like forcing your bladder and prostate into a game of endurance they were never designed to play. The bladder is meant to store urine temporarily, not indefinitely. When you ignore the signals it sends, you create back pressure. The urine sits longer, stretching the bladder walls, irritating the urinary tract, and putting unnecessary strain on the prostate. Over time, this habit weakens the muscles that control urination and increases the risk of infections, since bacteria have more time to multiply in stagnant urine. For seniors, this mistake can be especially damaging. The prostate often enlarges with age, a condition known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. When that happens, the urethra, the thin tube that carries urine out of the body, becomes partially blocked. Holding urine when your prostate is already enlarged is like closing off a narrow doorway and then stacking even more pressure against it. Eventually, something has to give. The result? Difficulty urinating, painful urgency, frequent nighttime bathroom trips, or worse, bladder damage that cannot be undone. Doctors recall countless patients who come in complaining about sudden bladder problems, only to realize these issues had been building silently for years. Many of these men had normalized the habit of waiting too long before using the bathroom. They thought it was just a small inconvenience, when in reality, they were conditioning their bodies toward dysfunction. What's even more concerning is the emotional toll. Imagine waking up 3, 4, even 5 times a night to use the bathroom, all because your bladder and prostate can no longer work in harmony. Imagine the exhaustion, the frustration, the sense that your own body has turned against you. All of it can begin with something as simple as ignoring the body's natural signals. So the message here is clear: when your body tells you it's time to go, listen. This is not a matter of convenience, it's a matter of protecting your prostate, your bladder, and ultimately, your peace of mind. What seems like a harmless delay today can become one of your greatest regrets tomorrow. And this is only the beginning. Because as we move forward, you'll discover 7 more destructive habits, each one just as dangerous, each one more common than you might realize. Habits that doctors see again and again, and habits that are silently shaping the health of millions of men around the world. Habit 2. Sitting too long without movement. We live in a world that rewards stillness more than motion. Many seniors spend hours seated, whether it's watching television, reading the newspaper, enjoying a meal, or simply resting in a favorite chair. At first glance, sitting seems harmless, even restful. After a lifetime of hard work, isn't it only fair to take things easy? But here's the truth prostate experts keep repeating: sitting too long is one of the most underestimated threats to prostate health. Why? Because the prostate is located just below the bladder and surrounds part of the urethra. When you sit for hours without moving, you're placing continuous pressure on that sensitive area. It's like squeezing a sponge over and over without giving it time to expand again. Over time, that pressure interferes with blood flow, creates pelvic congestion, and increases the risk of inflammation. Doctors often see this in men who spent their working lives in sedentary jobs, truck drivers, office workers, or anyone who spent entire days behind a desk. But it's not just about work. Retirement can be even more dangerous. With fewer reasons to move around, many men slip into routines of long stretches of sitting. The result? Stiff muscles, weak circulation, and a prostate that slowly pays the price. Science has shown that physical movement is not just for the heart, lungs, or waistline, it's essential for the prostate, too. Regular activity helps keep the pelvic floor muscles strong, improves blood circulation, and reduces inflammation. But when movement is missing, problems begin to stack up silently. The gland swells, the tissues stiffen, and the symptoms begin: difficulty starting urination, weak stream, dribbling, and that frustrating feeling of never being fully empty. Many seniors assume these are just normal signs of aging. They shrug them off, believing nothing can be done. But when doctors investigate, they often trace the progression back to years of prolonged sitting, a lifestyle habit that slowly damaged the prostate and bladder function. Think of the countless hours lost sitting in front of a TV or dozing in a recliner. 1 or 2 hours might seem harmless. But multiply that by weeks, months, and years, and the total time becomes staggering. It's as if the prostate is suffocating from lack of circulation. The consequences go beyond just physical discomfort. Sitting too long also weakens confidence and independence. Imagine an older man who struggles to enjoy a walk with his grandchildren, not because his legs are too weak, but because his prostate symptoms force him to keep looking for the nearest bathroom. Imagine missing out on family events because of fear or embarrassment. All of it circles back to a life spent in too much stillness. The solution isn't extreme. No one is asking seniors to run marathons or lift heavy weights. Doctors suggest something simple: move every hour. Stand up, walk across the room, stretch, or take a short stroll outside. Even light activity relieves pressure, restores blood flow, and gives the prostate a break. It's not about exercise, it's about circulation. Consider the wisdom in this. The body was never designed to be still for so long. Every joint, every muscle, every organ, including the prostate, depends on movement to stay alive and functional. Yet millions of men unknowingly weaken themselves with this one habit. That's why experts are shocked. Because the fix is so simple, yet the damage from ignoring it can last a lifetime. So the next time you find yourself sitting for hours, remember this: every step you take, no matter how small, is not just helping your heart and legs, it's protecting your prostate. Don't let comfort become the silent trap that steals your health. And this brings us to the next destructive pattern, one that is just as common, just as underestimated, and perhaps even more damaging over the years. A habit tied not to movement, but to what you put into your body every single day. Habit 3. Eating the wrong foods every day. If there is one area where men unknowingly sabotage their prostate health, it is in their daily diet. Food is powerful. It can heal or it can harm. Every bite we take either supports the body or stresses it. Yet for many seniors, food choices are guided more by habit and convenience than by awareness. The result is a diet that slowly chips away at prostate health, meal after meal, year after year. Think of the common foods that fill most plates: processed meats, greasy fried snacks, heavy red meat dinners, sugary desserts, and, of course, the ever-present cups of strong tea or coffee. These are not occasional indulgences for many men, they are daily staples. And while the stomach may feel satisfied, the prostate is quietly suffering. Doctors explain that the prostate is highly sensitive to inflammation. When you eat foods that trigger inflammation in the body, the prostate reacts too. Processed meats like sausages, bacon, and deli slices are packed with chemicals and preservatives that create oxidative stress. Excess red meat, especially when grilled or fried, produces compounds that irritate the prostate and raise the risk of cancer. Dairy products, though comforting, are often high in saturated fats, which worsen inflammation and congestion in the gland. Then there's sugar, the silent poison of modern diets. Many seniors have a sweet tooth, turning to cakes, biscuits, or sugary drinks for comfort. But sugar spikes insulin, promotes weight gain, and fuels inflammation throughout the body. The prostate, already delicate with age, feels the strain almost immediately. And let's not forget caffeine and alcohol. While an occasional cup of coffee or glass of wine may not do harm, excessive use irritates the bladder and worsens urinary symptoms. Seniors who drink several cups of tea or coffee throughout the day often notice increased urgency, weaker flow, and nighttime trips to the bathroom. Alcohol, especially beer, acts as a diuretic, forcing the bladder to work harder and the prostate to bear more pressure. The tragedy here is not that these foods taste bad, they taste good, often too good. The tragedy is that they are eaten so routinely that men rarely connect them with the discomfort they feel later. A man may wonder why his urinary stream is weak, why he wakes up 3 times a night, or why his prostate feels tender, never realizing that the culprit is sitting right on his dinner plate. But the flip side of this truth is powerful. Food can also heal. When seniors shift their diet toward whole, prostate-friendly options, the body responds. Foods like tomatoes, rich in lycopene, help protect prostate tissue. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, reduce inflammation and may even lower cancer risk. Nuts, seeds, olive oil, and fish provide healthy fats that soothe, rather than irritate. Whole grains and legumes keep blood sugar steady and reduce pressure on the gland. Even simple hydration with plain water supports urinary flow and reduces irritation. Doctors often describe a remarkable difference when patients adopt healthier diets. Men who once struggled with painful symptoms find themselves sleeping better, urinating with less effort, and feeling more energetic. The body doesn't ask for perfection, it simply rewards consistency. Small, daily improvements add up to a prostate that feels cared for instead of attacked. Imagine 2 seniors side by side. One continues to rely on fried foods, sugary snacks, and endless cups of coffee. The other makes gradual changes: grilled fish instead of fried meat, water instead of soda, fresh fruits instead of biscuits. At first, the differences seem small, but over the months and years, the gap in health becomes enormous. One man faces endless medical visits, prescriptions, and discomfort, while the other enjoys more independence, peace, and dignity in his later years. The lesson is clear: food is not just fuel. It is a daily medicine, or a daily poison. The choice rests on every fork and spoon. And while it may feel difficult to change lifelong habits, seniors must remember that the smallest change can bring relief. Skipping just 1 cup of coffee, replacing one heavy meal with a lighter, vegetable-rich plate, or choosing water over a sugary drink, all of these are acts of protection for the prostate. This is why prostate experts are so shocked. Because the damage is not caused by rare or exotic behaviors. It is caused by simple, daily decisions that could be adjusted with awareness. No man has to surrender to a failing prostate. But every man must be willing to look honestly at what he eats and ask, is this serving me, or is this silently destroying me? And so we move forward, because diet is only one part of the picture. As dangerous as poor food choices are, there is another destructive habit that worsens prostate health every single day, one rooted not in what we eat, but in what we fail to drink. Habit 4, not drinking enough water. If food is the fuel that powers the body, then water is the life force that keeps it running smoothly. Yet, ironically, one of the most common mistakes seniors make is failing to drink enough water. Prostate experts shake their heads in disbelief when they realize how many men go through entire days on just a few cups of tea, some coffee, or maybe a single glass of water. What they don't see is how this quiet neglect is slowly destroying their prostate health. The prostate, like every organ, depends on hydration. Water helps flush out toxins, keeps urine diluted, and supports the smooth function of the urinary tract. But when the body is deprived of water, the consequences show up quickly. The urine becomes concentrated, darker, and more irritating to the bladder and prostate. Seniors who are already prone to urinary issues notice more burning sensations, more urgency, and more discomfort simply because their bodies are running dry. One of the hidden dangers of dehydration is urinary tract infection. When urine sits in the bladder for too long without being diluted by fresh fluid, bacteria thrive. This infection doesn't just stop at the bladder, it can spread, causing painful inflammation of the prostate itself. Doctors call this prostatitis, and it is one of the most miserable conditions a man can experience. Pain in the pelvic area, constant urgency, difficulty urinating, even fever and fatigue. All of this can begin with something as simple as not drinking enough water. Why do seniors avoid water? For many, the reason is fear. They don't want to make frequent trips to the bathroom, especially at night. So they reduce water intake, thinking it will solve the problem. In reality, this only worsens the condition. The bladder becomes more irritated by concentrated urine, the prostate suffers more inflammation, and nighttime trips often increase, not decrease. It is a cruel cycle. one fueled by misunderstanding and hesitation, others simply don't feel as thirsty as they once did. With age, the body's thirst signals become weaker. A senior may believe he is fine without water, but the truth is his organs are quietly struggling. By the time he feels thirsty, he is already dehydrated. And the prostate, sensitive as it is, feels the strain before many other organs do. Doctors have seen it repeatedly. Men who present with chronic urinary problems, only to discover that one of the main culprits was simply a lack of hydration. When these men begin drinking more water throughout the day, slowly, consistently, not all at once, the difference is often dramatic. Urination becomes easier. Burning sensations fade. The bladder empties more completely. Even the prostate feels less pressure. It's important to understand that hydration doesn't mean flooding the body with huge amounts of water at once. It means sipping steadily throughout the day, keeping the system refreshed. A glass of water in the morning, one before each meal, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening can make an enormous difference. This steady intake keeps urine diluted, reduces strain on the prostate, and prevents the buildup of toxins and bacteria. The irony is that seniors often believe avoiding water will protect their dignity. Fewer bathroom trips, fewer accidents, less embarrassment. Yet in reality, avoiding water only ensures more problems, more discomfort, and more disruption to their lives. True dignity comes from a body that is cared for, not starved of the very fluid it depends on. So the message is simple: do not fear water, embrace it. Let it be your daily companion, your silent protector. Because every sip is not just quenching thirst, it is safeguarding your prostate. And in a world where so many men are losing their health to preventable mistakes, something as basic as water can be the difference. But water alone is not enough. Even the most hydrated body cannot undo the damage of another destructive habit that prostate experts warn about, one tied not to what we drink, but to how we sleep. Habit 5, sacrificing sleep and rest. If movement and hydration are the daytime protectors of the prostate, then sleep is its nightly healer. Yet one of the most overlooked habits destroying prostate health is the constant sacrifice of proper rest. Seniors often underestimate how much damage is done when they push bedtime later and later, wake too frequently, or refuse to prioritize restorative sleep. Doctors are not surprised to see prostate problems worsen in men who neglect their sleep, but they are shocked at how few realize the connection. Sleep is not just about closing your eyes. It is the body's repair cycle. During deep sleep, hormones balance, inflammation calms, and tissues, including those in the prostate, undergoes subtle healing. But when sleep is cut short or broken into restless fragments, that repair cycle is interrupted. The prostate, already delicate with age, suffers quietly. One of the most frustrating patterns doctors hear about from older men is nighttime urination, also known as nocturia. A man may wake up 3, 4, even 6 times a night, unable to rest peacefully. Many assume this is simply a symptom of prostate enlargement. But what they don't realize is that irregular sleep habits actually make the problem worse. Going to bed late, consuming caffeine in the evening, or refusing to establish a calming bedtime routine all amplify the issue. The bladder becomes overstimulated, the prostate remains irritated, and the night becomes a battlefield instead of a sanctuary. There is also the hidden effect of stress. Without good sleep, stress hormones like cortisol stay elevated in the body. High cortisol fuels inflammation. And inflammation, as doctors remind us, is the enemy of prostate health. A man who consistently sleeps poorly is unknowingly soaking his prostate in an environment of stress and irritation. Over time, the results show up as greater swelling, more urinary difficulty, and even increased risk of serious conditions like cancer. Consider this: many seniors proudly stay up late into the night watching television or scrolling through their phones. They see it as harmless entertainment, but their body sees it differently. The blue light from screens disrupts melatonin, the hormone that governs sleep. The late meals that often accompany late nights force the bladder and prostate to stay active instead of resting. The body begs for rest, but the habit of pushing bedtime later silently undermines health, and the cycle doesn't stop at the prostate. Poor sleep leads to fatigue during the day, which encourages more sitting, less exercise, and more dependence on stimulants like coffee. Each of these secondary habits circles back to the prostate, compounding the damage. What seems like a small sacrifice of an hour or 2 of sleep ends up being a chain reaction that harms the body on multiple levels. Doctors often share stories of men who believed their urinary symptoms were inevitable, only to find dramatic improvement when they began prioritizing sleep. By establishing a routine, going to bed at the same time, avoiding caffeine late in the day, dimming lights, and allowing the body to wind down, these men gave their prostates the chance to recover. And the change was so profound that they wished they had made the adjustment years earlier. The truth is, sleep is one of the simplest yet most powerful medicines available. It costs nothing, requires no prescription, and works better than many treatments if respected. But it demands discipline. Seniors must see sleep not as wasted time, but as an investment in health, dignity, and peace of mind. Imagine waking in the morning without exhaustion, without the fog of a restless night, and without the frustration of constant bathroom interruptions. That reality is possible, not through another pill, but through the simple honor of giving the body the rest it craves. So while society often glorifies productivity, late nights, and endless activity, the wisest choice for seniors is the opposite. Protect your sleep, and you protect your prostate. Neglect it, and you will pay the price, often more painfully than you could imagine. And with that, we arrive at yet another destructive habit, one that is even more damaging because it is so often dismissed as harmless, yet it inflames and exhausts the prostate more than most men realize. Habit 6. Smoking and drinking alcohol. There are habits that men know are harmful but still find hard to give up. Smoking and drinking fall into this category. They are seen by many as small pleasures, a way to relax, to cope with stress, or to socialize with friends. But for the prostate, these habits are like pouring gasoline on a slow-burning fire. Doctors have long warned about the dangers of smoking. Lung cancer, heart disease, stroke. But what shocks prostate experts is how rarely men realize that every puff of a cigarette also harms their prostate. The chemicals in tobacco, over 7,000 of them, travel through the bloodstream to every corner of the body. The prostate is no exception. Carcinogens in smoke damage DNA, weaken tissue defenses, and fuel inflammation. Over time, this toxic environment makes it easier for prostate cancer to develop and harder for the gland to function normally. Even if cancer never forms, smoking shrinks blood vessels, reducing circulation. And circulation is life for the prostate. Without proper blood flow, the gland becomes congested, irritated, and more prone to swelling. Men who smoke often complain of worsened urinary symptoms, weak stream, incomplete emptying, and painful urgency. The truth is, every cigarette makes those symptoms more likely. Alcohol is no less destructive. While a glass of wine at dinner may seem harmless, many seniors drink far more than they realize. Beer, spirits, or daily glasses of strong whiskey become part of routine. But alcohol irritates the bladder, inflames the urinary tract, and forces the prostate to endure constant stress. It is a diuretic, meaning it pushes the kidneys to produce more urine. For an already aging prostate, this means more trips to the bathroom, more pressure on the gland, and less rest at night. Doctors often hear men justify their drinking with statements like, "It helps me sleep," or, "It relaxes me." But the relaxation is temporary. The damage is lasting. Alcohol disrupts deep sleep cycles, robs the body of hydration, and leaves the prostate bathed in irritation. The very comfort it promises is the comfort it steals away in the long run. The combination of smoking and drinking is particularly destructive. Together, they multiply inflammation, weaken immunity, and increase cancer risk several times over. Studies have shown that men who smoke heavily and drink regularly are not only more likely to suffer from prostate enlargement, but also more likely to face aggressive prostate cancer. It is a dangerous gamble, one that too many men continue to play. What makes this habit especially tragic is that many seniors take pride in their wisdom, yet underestimate how much harm these two substances cause. They may quit for the lungs or the liver, but rarely for the prostate. And so the gland suffers in silence, punished for choices the man doesn't connect to it. The good news is that the body begins to heal the moment these habits are abandoned. Within weeks of quitting smoking, circulation improves. Within months, inflammation decreases. Similarly, reducing alcohol brings immediate relief to urinary symptoms. Sleep improves, urgency decreases, and the prostate begins to function with less irritation. Even men in their 70s or 80s see real improvements when they make the change. It is never too late to quit. Every cigarette avoided, every drink skipped, is a gift to the prostate. A declaration that you value your health more than a fleeting pleasure. Doctors are shocked not because the damage is irreversible, but because so many men refuse to take the first step toward protecting themselves. The truth is harsh but clear. Smoking and drinking are not harmless indulgences. They are silent destroyers. And the longer they continue, the more the prostate pays the price. But there are still two more destructive habits to uncover, habits that are equally dangerous, and often just as overlooked. One of them lies not in what men consume, but in what they avoid, the regular checkups that could save their lives. And so, as we've seen, the habits that harm the prostate are not always dramatic or obvious. They are simple choices, repeated over years, that slowly shape the course of health and comfort. But the good news is this: the same way bad habits destroy, good habits restore. Change is possible at any age, and every small step matters. So if you or someone you love has recognized these patterns, don't wait for tomorrow. Begin today. Protect your health, honor your body, and give yourself the gift of a stronger, more peaceful life. Thank you for watching, for reflecting, and for choosing to spend this time with me. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and as always, stay healthy, stay wise, and stay blessed.